Welcome back to another episode of the Skits and Giggles podcast. For this one, Bryson and I sat down with Louis Eisenhut, and we are stoked to be sharing it with you. Most people know Louis as a creator on Instagram, YouTube, and probably from other social networks that Bryson and I are far too old for. And of course, we do get to hear about how he got started, what motivates him to continue creating new content, and how he tries to stay relevant in the ever-changing social media landscape. More importantly, though, we also talk about how Louis is using his reach and experience in social media to achieve positive outcomes for the community, and it was interesting to hear how he is trying to help the sport and trail building projects progress in his home region around Interlaken. With thoughts under the helmet, Louis also launched a podcast early in the year, and naturally, as fellow podcasters existing in a similar niche, we have to ask about the experience so far and about his main takeaways from chats with guests like Danny McCaskill or Birgit Bless. For more information about this episode and the Skits and Giggles podcast, you can follow the links in the description. To support the podcast, please share this episode with your riding buddies or just leave us a 5-star rating on your favorite platform. Right, with all of that out of the way, let's now get to our chat with Louis Eisenhut.
Hey, Louis. So I only recently heard about you through your podcast, which is on YouTube, Thoughts Under the Helmet. You had a guest. It was speaking English, but it wasn't about mountain biking. Looking a little further into your profile and your secondary account, I realized, oh, he's a mountain biker. Hey, he's in Switzerland. Hey, what's going on here? So I had to fire you a quick message on IG. Welcome to the fold. And now, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, guys.
I would like to know a little more about your journey and, what you love about mountain biking.
All right. So my journey started back in 2010. My father took me with him on a mountain bike ride in Wallis. It was like, I don't know, just a quick tour with one of his friends. And actually on my very first mountain bike ride, I crashed. Like I really didn't know what I got myself into. He was just like, come with me with my friends. Let's have a bike ride. We went there and it was actually really fun. Like I had that big crash on the bike, like, I don't know, on that hiking trail. And, but that was actually the start. Like Wallis, 2010, me and my dad in Wallis, and that was it. And from there on, like pretty much every single weekend we went on bike rides together. Had a little crash, but it was all good. And that was actually the start. My dad taking me on a bike ride back then. Yeah, that was it.
Super wholesome. Yeah, that's a good way to get in, eh? Especially in an epic location.
Yeah.
But did you start with a GoPro, or like how did you start doing like the media side? Like what's?
Oh, that was actually way later. Okay, so.
Oh, okay.
It was 2010. Started mountain biking, and just me and my dad. We went like every single weekend to like all the different bike parks in Switzerland. My dad got into like free ride or downhill mountain biking when he was around 40, and I was 10. So yeah, he started really late. And then actually my first interest in mountain biking itself like was not really going into media and all of that. I was more interested in like racing. So in 2015, 5 years after I started, my dad applied or registered me for like a mountain bike like camp for kids, and it was for kids learning how to race. So we were together in Belwald, Bike Park Belwald, just doing a little race preparation for the upcoming Eisenhut Downhill Cup, and we were together with some pros. We learned how to like do line choices, how to actually race it down a track. And that was actually the first time I realized, you can like get money from mountain biking, like there is a way where you can actually just live from mountain biking. And back then the only option for me was just, you go racing, So I started mountain bike, like downhill racing a year later. Did the whole like IXS Swiss Downhill Cup they had back then. And that was actually me starting with racing. And then I raced for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And 4 years later, Corona, like COVID came and shut everything down. So no races anymore. And then I needed something else, and I started posting those clips on Instagram with my friends. I was riding a lot with Sandro Schmid. I don't know if you guys know him from
Yeah.
Finland.
Former guest.
Yeah, so
Shout
he's
out.
pretty much doing the same.
Shout out, yeah.
Yeah, shout out Sandro, and he's pretty much doing the same as I do right now. And he brought me into the whole social media stuff. So instead of racing, I started to post more and more on Instagram, and that's how it started with social media. Yeah,
So we have a bit of a thing in common there, because
really.
Skids and Giggles is also born from Corona. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were a child. We were a child of the pandemic. Somehow we stuck it out, and we're still here.
Yeah.
3 years later.
Older.
That's awesome.
But
awesome.
exactly. But what apart from your dad, but what kind of inspired you when you were younger to kind of really give mountain biking a go?
When I started with my dad, me and my friends from school were just going on little bike rides after school. I grew up in Wilderswil, a small village next to Interlaken. Maybe some people know that. It's a very touristy place. We had some like hiking trails around our like around Wilderswil, and that was actually just me and my friends. Also, my dad back then, he lived with a friend who mountain biked a lot as well. My parents were divorced by that time already, so or back then already. So he lived with his friend as roommates, and that actually just was everything that inspired me. And then maybe 2-3 years later, I only got to know, or maybe 2 or 3 years later, I got to know all the like mountain bike pros, and I don't know, I discovered the whole world of mountain biking. But from the start on, it was actually just my friends and my family. Yeah.
So very analog in that sense, right? So not not video, not YouTube, not anything.
Nothing,
It's just
no.
like grassroots, the friends, the shovel, building jumps, that kind of stuff. Or
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was just me and a friend going on. Like, I had some friends in school who were also interested in mountain biking. So yeah, after school we just built some jumps on the in like the yard, behind the house and everything. And that's how it started. Like, no influences from any pros or any YouTubers or anything. I got into all of that like 2 or 3 years later after, actually.
and how? So yeah, what that I think social media starts kind of the same for everyone, right? So then all your friends start having it, and you think you have funny things to post, and you post that because you think someone is interested, and at some stage when you get a bit more serious, then you start creating content, right?
Yeah.
In air quotes. So how did that happen? Is it also through Sandra, or was it always just for fun?
Well, to that day, it's still all fun. Like, I never see it as like a real business. I love content creating. I started doing it when I had like 200-300 followers on Instagram. And also back then, people were making fun of me because I was this like wannabe influencer and like took pictures of everything and posted everything. And back then, I already told everyone where I was, like what I was doing. Like, I was at this race and at this race, and went biking with my friends and just posted everything pretty much. And I don't know, I was just doing it because it was fun, not because I knew that it was going to be like would make me big or anything. And then through Sandra, I saw that there's a possibility of becoming kind of like famous or like well known in the mountain bike scene through social media, and it gave me more motivation to do more and better content for sure. But I would still do it if I would only have like 200-300 followers. So yeah, it's all fun till that day.
It's an interesting observation that kind of at the same time that the kind of the racing and that stuff that kept you in the sport, pre-COVID, let's say, is dying down a little bit or almost completely at the time. And at the same time, you have, social media is kind of picking up. Everyone has a lot of time on their hands. They're, doing like their home edits and small shred edits and this and that. And so yeah, was that kind of how it happened for you? So that we went from one to the other pretty much straight away, or was there kind of a happy intermediate?
No, it was actually that, like, people. So COVID came and all the races were canceled, and just so many people spent their time on their phone. Like, just scrolling all day long because you couldn't really do anything. Everything was closed. You could mountain bike. Like, we were able to go in the woods and like have fun, and we filmed everything. So, and I like me having so much fun doing all that content and just having my phone out 24/7. Filming everything just kind of led me to being an influencer, if you want to say that. I don't know, just it was like hand in hand, actually. Like, people spending so much time on their phone back then because they just had to, there was nothing else to do, and me enjoying posting more and more. So it was actually very lucky if I think about it now.
Was it like a moment of clarity? You're like, hang on a second, everyone's on their phone right now. So like, what if I give them something to watch?
Actually, I don't know. I think so. Back then, I was really close with Sandro, so we just talked. We were like hanging out pretty much every weekend. We were riding a lot. We also had like the same goals at this point, because as I saw that like content creating was so much more fun for me than racing, and I never really was a good racer. I always was just like in the, how do you say, like middle field, or in the middle of the field. I never was like a top three, top five rider. Um, so I don't know. It was really cool for us to just post content, and so what I wanted to say. Sorry, I just thought about something else right now. But what I wanted to say is, me and Sandra, we were hanging out one day, and he was actually like, you know what? It's super good for us with our goals, what we have for social media, that so many people are spending so much time on their phones, and we're like, actually, yeah, like let's just post as much as we can because people are watching it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I got hooked in the exact same way. Like that's pretty much the start for I guess almost everybody in a way. Like they're just like, oh, let's just like post something cool, and people
Mhm.
see it, and you get likes. And I guess on one side you can kind of get wrapped up in like how many people are following you, likes you, like the video or shared the video or whatever. And then of course there's the other side of like I just want to do cooler things and post it because like I get cool feedback or it gives me something, right?
Mhm.
So when did all of that fit in with like late for work? Was that a couple
Oh.
like a year later or like what's the lead up to late for work? We guys have like, oh, you know
Yeah.
what would be better if we did this, and then if we better we did this, and like, hang on a second, why don't we make? I have this crazy idea for a video shoot. Like, what happened?
So I was doing Instagram for pretty much the first. So 2020 was actually the year where I started with the whole social media software, where I started to grow. And I only did like Instagram stuff. And then as I grew, like, brands were started to get interested in like what I did and came up to me, and I was like, had my first ever clothing sponsor, Ian, in 2020, or by the end of 20, or was it 2021, something like that. And I was like, okay, now I have to like step up the game, and like, what are other people doing? Like, you can't just only be posting on Instagram all the time. Like, I mean, it's fun, but at the end, like, you should do something more. But what's better? And had a friend from Wildeswil, the village I grew up in. He's really talented in like videographing and editing and everything.
Mm.
He's actually filming for, I think, Red Bull right now, so he made his way as well. And his name is Felipe, and I, yeah, just messaged him being like, hey, yo, I want to do like an edit. Like, I've never really done a proper like writing edit. We should do something. And he was down for it. So we came up with this idea for me being late for work, and that could, like, I don't know, turn into like me being on the bike, just rushing to work or anything like that. And that was the whole start of late for work. Yeah. Um, yeah, it was just me wanting to step up my game, if you want to say it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a fantasy we might have all had at one point in our lives where we're like,
Exactly.
you know, either driving real fast or riding real fast, whatever, late for work, late for the bus. I don't know. So is that when you started going to YouTube?
Pretty much, actually. Wait, I'm I have to think when I posted. When was it? Late for work was like in 2000, was 2021, I think. Um, and before that, I didn't really post on YouTube. My idea was to just release that edit with nothing really else in mind, and then Sandro also he had a YouTube channel already, and with a few, like, quite a lot of followers for that time. Like, he never really posted actively at that time, um, but then he started to post again and doing his vlogs, and he was like, "Yo, dude, you should start with YouTube because, I mean, also brands and like just it would just be more of a even just more entertainment for your followers, for your community, what more to watch at the end.
And what people forget, it's the second biggest search engine in the world.
Is
Oh,
it?
yeah. And the biggest
It
university.
is.
Wow.
Yeah, probably the biggest university.
So
Yeah.
not many people may know, but I also have a YouTube channel.
Oh.
It's filled with random things, and it's very, very poorly edited stuff, like basically straight off my GoPro or like screenshots from a video game or something. It's like just totally, I almost do it like just as an experiment. And I don't try to promote it or anything. And I get like 1 or 2 views. Like, it's really, it's in the ether. But the thing is, like, so right now, we're all content creators. I mean, we have to face that fact. I see a little bit of me in what you're saying, because like when social media started, I also thought like, oh, that'd be cool. Let's post this, or like, let's do this. Or like when I did something cool, I'm like, I got to post that and like show people this cool stuff. Not necessarily like me, but like what's going on. It didn't really get a great reception. I never got viral, like nothing. To be honest, I didn't put like so much effort into it, but I like made an effort to like post it, and I don't know, a few friends liked it and stuff.
Yeah.
I talked about it with some people, but it wasn't really anything that took off. And then the same with YouTube. It like never took off, and I didn't really get like a lot of motivation from it. But you have a completely different story. Yours actually had a trajectory. So, what do you think I was missing?
I don't know. I see a lot of kids, funny because I see a lot of kids like posting on Instagram. Like, it's just growing. Like, so many kids out there riding bikes, like posting every single day, pretty much. Like, there's so much content on Instagram, but so like little of it gets viral, or like becomes a viral like video or piece of content. And I think at the end, it's just, especially with the algorithm right now, it's just go for it and like be lucky in a way. I feel like these days you can't really. There's not. I mean, everyone's just talking about the algorithm, and I feel like if you really want to go viral and like want to go that direction, you have to follow the algorithm in that way. And actually, that's it these days. I don't really know, like, because back then, I think for me, what really helped was COVID. So a lot of people just being on their phone. I feel like that was a big part. And then just staying up to date, like, and then posting like frequently, and actually just having the people that follow you getting to like interact with you, and like getting to be really interested in your life more and more. Like, I'm someone who doesn't really who does post a lot of his private stuff, and like people who actually follow me and see my stories on Instagram every single day, they really can see where I'm at. Like, people can actually tell like what I did every single day throughout the whole year, because I'm just putting everything I do on my stories. And it's crazy how people really get to interact with you and like start to bond with you almost. And I don't know, I think it's just a mixture of like being in the favor of the algorithm, and also just staying interesting to the audience almost, yeah, or the community, yeah.
But that's the kind of the crazy thing, right? Because there is obviously very, 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 very successful YouTubers that fully and very transparently play on the algorithm and the user engagement and attention spans, and the entire design of the show is targeted to increase engagement and keep people bound to the video and drive people to the channel and all that sort of stuff. So are you looking at any of the Mr. Beasts or all the other big names that are really, really, really successful on YouTube, and kind of take stuff away from them for your videos?
Well, maybe not Mr. Beast.
Slightly lower budget.
That Mr. Beast has, that would be as rich as Mr. Beast.
Mr. Little Beast.
No,
it's just an extreme example, right? So.
Yeah, no.
Bitsly Beast.
I see. Actually, I mean, there are a lot of big names on YouTube. Like, if you see what Matt Jones is doing or Sam Pilgrim, when you put it in more of the mountain bike direction, of course, like they're doing a great job of just staying interesting to the people. I mean, what Sam is doing on YouTube is actually so different to what everyone else is doing, and that's what I meant with like staying interesting. You just have to like keep changing up and staying relevant. So for sure, I look up to them and I get my motivation and my inspiration from them as well. Yeah.
Do you have any non-mountain bike inspirations?
I do. Actually, one of my biggest inspirations. Some people maybe hate me for saying that, but it's actually, you guys know the Paul brothers, Logan Paul, Jake Paul.
Not okay, really. Yeah, I heard about them. Like they're doing
very
scamming and.
Yeah, very controversial. But I always look at it from like an entertainment perspective. Yeah. Like at the end, what?
Because they were comedians first or something, right? Weren't they YouTubers first?
Like short, like videos on Vine back in the days, and then
right, Vine. Okay. That.
But I don't know. For example, what they're doing is just they're very controversial. But like for me, my goal on social media is to entertain people, and I want to have people to look at my stories or my posts or my YouTube videos or my edits and be like, wow, I was able to just shut off my brain for a few seconds or a few minutes and just take a break from my day-to-day life, And I feel like what Jake and Logan Paul, for example, are doing is just they are entertainers, and all they do, even if it's controversial, it's entertaining at the end, And even if it's only for a second, you don't think about the like stressful day you had because you're just enjoying what they're doing or like are entertained by what they're doing, if it's good or bad, So I don't know. I just feel like they're very good entertainers, and that's why I look up to them,
Yeah. And it's kind of the heart of it all, right? Like we're choosing to step away from what we're doing and focus on the screen, flipping through or scanning through or scrolling, whatever, to distract us. Like we're making that choice, and whether people feel like they're a slave to it or whatever, or it's like their ritual. I mean, they're making the choice. That's clear. So yeah, of course you want to be entertained, right? You want to try to distract yourself or doing something. It's all along those same lines. But for me, I recognize that I'm still deciding whether I'm battling that or not. It's kind of a conflict internally for me, but I still do it. Like it's, I don't know, maybe it's just the modern day life. I don't know. How do you feel about that? You think it's good that we do this, or like
that we shut off, that we just want to be entertained, or what?
Yeah, like that we just like decide to like flip our phone open and be like, okay, I got to watch this for a second.
I think it's good, man. I mean, we all have our like packages to carry, like we all have something that maybe stresses us out in our day-to-day life, or like, or maybe it's just a phase, we all go through like good and bad phases. And I mean, there are bad phases in everyone's life. And if you just can like shut your brain off that is thinking about that one stupid little thing that is bothering you right now for only a second, it's awesome. It's just a relief in a way. For sure, like you shouldn't use all those entertainment platforms to just completely shut off. Like, I mean, you could be almost living out of watching Netflix series all day long and just never think about your problems in real life. But that's not what you should do. But maybe just do it for like half an hour a day, and it's going to be a little bit of a relief, you know. And that's what I think is the good thing about entertainment and all of that, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people have been seeking entertainment since the Roman Empire. Like since the dawn of time, I guess, from when people realized that that's a thing. So having it in the palm of your hand in your pocket is how different is that than you taking a large portion of your time after work to go to a bar or to go to a comedy club or something. We're all doing it one way or another, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole like social media takes up a lot of time. I mean, I guess we all know it, like opening TikTok or watching reels, and maybe you think you just want to do it for like 5 minutes, and then you spend, I don't know, 2 hours scrolling on TikTok. Like what?
You're looking
I'm
at
clear.
cats rolling on their
That's
back.
the negative part about all of it, you know. Like
the rabbit hole.
yeah.
I want to jump back. You mentioned the word viral. I can't think of the last time I saw a viral video. Has the viral video age died? Has it been replaced by the algorithm? Like, what do you think about that? What's the last viral video you saw? Let's say it like
okay,
that.
I want to know what do you mean with viral? Like, what is your understanding of viral?
Okay, so viral video is like, it can be any video, and all of a sudden it just like from one point to another it blows up, and it's like people are reposting or retweeting it. It's on like the Daily Mail UK page. It's on Pink Bike, what do they call that, Slacker feed, and like it just goes everywhere all of a sudden, like suddenly. That's what my definition of viral is, right?
I mean, for me, every single video that is on the For You page with like, I don't know, 1 million likes is viral. No, like if so many people are watching it that are not following you. I mean, if I put out a video and I have, I don't know, let's say 10K followers, and then 10K people see it, and all of those people are my followers, then this video didn't go viral. But if I have 10K followers and 2 million people see the video, this is a video that went viral. So it's about who is like watching your videos and how many people, and how many of those people are actually people that already followed you and already know you,
But if you have like a front page that has several viral videos back to back, it doesn't really make one like the viral king anymore. Because viral used to be like, this is the one that exploded, and nobody else's. Don't even think about them anymore. You only think about this one video. I don't know if it's for one day or 1 week or whatever, but it was like the king, right? And then all of a sudden everything else fell to the side. But now it's just like you have several virals beside each other.
Yeah.
So like, how do you know what's like the viral one?
The most viralist.
There's just so many viruses.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe okay. I see. Maybe you know that from TikTok as well, or I feel like TikTok is a really good example because
we're too old for TikTok.
No, you guys.
What is TikTok?
Come on.
Actually, I never had TikTok, but please tell us your example.
Okay. Well, we can go to Instagram as well, because with the whole reel stuff, it just gets it becomes TikTok to a point, But okay, when I go on TikTok, I think I can consider myself as like still in the age group of I'm allowed to have TikTok,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Okay. So when I go on TikTok,
let us know what it's
please
like.
explain the internet.
Explain to me like I'm 38.
I didn't say that.
But talk slowly.
So when I go on TikTok and I see like 3 or 4 videos in a row with all have like 1 million likes, and then I see one video that has 60K, like 60,000 likes, I'm like, is this video even viral? Like that means nothing to like all the videos I've seen before that has so many likes. And when I had Danny McGaskill on my podcast a few months ago already, we talked about that, because we were like, there's such an overload I think there's such an overload on content on all those social media platforms that just having one video that blows up isn't really important anymore. There's so many other videos out there. There's so much content out there that it gets just so hard to stick out. And yeah, actually you're kind of right, Bryson. Like I mean, all those videos, if you watch them like separately and look at them separately, they're all viral. But if they just mix them in with all the thousands of other videos that are viral that day as well, it's not important anymore, you know?
I have a conspiracy theory. There are like good videos, let's say, for sure. But perhaps like the app is lying to you and it's saying it's got 1 million or 2 or 3 million watches, but it doesn't. And they just line them up like this. But then it creates people to watch it.
Huh. Do you think?
I don't know for what reason. It's a machine, so maybe it doesn't have a reason. I don't know, but
I mean, they could just put the number on the screen and just make you would believe it, you know? Yeah.
I mean, you're being entertained either way, so let me know, Pascal.
That's true. But do you guys also know that when you go on your socials and then there's a video that has so many views and likes already and you're like, oh, this is a good video, and then you see another video that is maybe same, like equal as good, but it just has like 10 likes or something, you're just like, it's just
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't look at the likes or the follows or anything like that the video has. I have a hard enough time navigating the UI, the user interface of Instagram. I don't understand the difference between Reels and Stories. And when I scroll and all of a sudden like something automatically plays and like I can't get it off the screen, like I have to like keep scrolling, it's kind of frustrating. I have to close the app because I don't understand. Like all of a sudden it's like now I'm watching Reels. Like I wasn't watching Reels before. Why? So I don't know.
You were just on Stories and then all of a sudden.
There you go. That's what happens when old dudes are using the social internets.
No, come on, guys, you're not that old.
But the thing is, like, I also take a little bit of, I am entertained by just watching the random things. Like, I don't look at what kind of numbers it has. Like, I'll just like, if a video starts playing, I'm like, all right. And I'm like, nah. And I'll swipe and I'll be like, oh, another one. Okay. And I'm like, okay, it's pretty good. And I'll watch it all the way to the end. And then I'll watch the next one. I'm like, swipe. And to me, it seems like they're just random. I don't know if they're like all viral videos, like stacked up, ready for the next one, or if they're just like.
Of course they are.
It doesn't seem like it. Sometimes it's like a dude, he's walking through the forest and he doesn't say anything. And I'm like, that was pointless. Like there was nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to bring this back a little bit to the conversation about Louis and what he takes away from that, right? Because at the end of the day, I get the feeling that you do spend a lot of time in understanding your craft of being a creator and, playing the different platforms and staying relevant and all that sort of stuff. But how do you see yourself having, sustainable success on these platforms when, they could change in a second because they changed the algorithm or because someone decided whatever, the app is not appropriate anymore or whatever it is, right? So there's a lot of things outside of your control with these platforms, and how do you prepare for that, and what are your takeaways from the journey so far?
I feel like it's getting harder and harder to just stay relevant because there's so much content on all those social platforms. And my theory is, I don't know, maybe you could count that already as, no, it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's just my theory. I feel like if we are already, going that way. No, I just think that Instagram will just blow up at one point because there's just an overload of content that all those servers can't handle it anymore. And it's just going to break at one point. I feel like, well, because you already see, I don't know, I have so many like glitches and just weird things happening on my Instagram when I want to like edit longer videos, for example, or I want to upload a few photos at the same time. It's just, you can't handle it anymore. So staying relevant on only social media isn't important. At one point, like it's good to bring yourself to a point of where people know you or get to know you because you have a few viral videos and people can follow your day-to-day life with stories and everything. But to stay important and relevant, you should also go outside of all those social media platforms and like invest your time in like other directions. Like I really, once I got to a point where people were recognizing me and I was like, wow, I can have an impact on like the community, for example. I want to give something back. Like that's why also I started with teaching kids. Why I do like teaching lessons. I want to like teach the next generation how to ride a bike properly, or why for example, like I'm working with the bike park Tunersee and all the flying metal guys on building trails in my area in Interlaken, and I think that's a good way of staying important. Of course, you're not going to grow anymore for that much because maybe you're more like in like regional areas. Like everything is more. It's a little smaller when it's not on social media anymore. But I think it is still important to step out of this whole social media bubble because it can just break from one second to the other. Yeah. So that's what I try to do. I just try to like spread myself to all different directions and stay relevant through that.
Well, I have to give kudos where kudos are due, because obviously you have read my notes, because that was one of my questions, right? Is how you use your, let's call it reach, the generic term, how you use that for positive outcomes in the community. And of course, I did some research. Of course, your name pops up in many different newspaper articles as the media person for an interest group or a media person for an initiative. Can you talk a little bit about those projects before we go back to another topic that is close to our heart?
Of course. Yeah, I don't know. Since I think it's already 3 years now. I'm part of the local bike club we have in Interlaken, Bergvelo Club, it's called, and the IG Bergvelo Club. And yeah, that's I started as I'm actually like a secretary there, and that's how I got into this kind of how do you say direction. So I started there just helping them with all their paperwork, and then they came up to me being like, you know what, we actually have to do something because the scene in Interlaken and in the Bernese Overland is just kind of dying. Like I don't know, people don't really want to visit us anymore in Interlaken. Like for biking, it's mountain bikers don't really feel welcomed. And I was like, well, we really have to do something. So I started this petition, and just to see how many people would be interested if there would be actual legal trails in Interlaken. And that's what actually got it going with the whole me investing my time also in that way, and me wanting to make sure that there are trails in the future in my area in Interlaken, for example, for people to ride. So I did this petition, we said. And it started to grow. We had, after I don't know, a day or two, we had like over 1,000 like signatures, or like people just saying that they would be they liked the idea. And then the newspapers, this local newspaper, hit me up and was like, well, can we do an interview about that? And then I slowly started to become the media person for the Bergvelo Club. And as this whole thing went on, Sharon Hunziker, I don't know if you guys know him from Flying Metal.
Yeah, it's Flying Metal guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know him, but
Okay,
I know his name.
But he hit me up and he was like, wow, we saw the effort you're doing in Interlaken. Like, we would be interested if you could be a part of the bike park Tunersee as well. Like, if people have any questions from the media side, could you help us as well? And could you also use your reach sometimes to help us out with different projects? And I was like, for sure, because it's really important to give, as I said, to give something back to the community. And that's how it all started, yeah.
But what is the? Of course, now that we have someone from the Bernese Oberland talking to us, I mean, of course, we know a little bit about the area in Thun, so the different trails that are available there. But what is the current status with being able to ride or having like this shared trail policy? Like, we know from the Grisons. Is there something happening now in the Bernese Oberland?
With the whole change of the law, it's just, so what I know is whenever they build new hiking trails now, we have mountain bikers are allowed to ride on those trails as well, but it doesn't.
Okay.
It's not for the already existing trails. So every existing hiking trail there is right now, I think there is still the old ride for now that hikers have, like, can say their mountain bikers are not usually welcome.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that sounds like a Swiss solution.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like since we started with Bergvelo Club, and since I went to since I was in the newspapers and I had like an interview in the local on the local radio channel, people were really like, it brought that whole theme, it brought it all up again, because we tried a few years already. We tried a few times already in Interlaken to build some legal trails, but it was always just like a big like all the mountain bike scene all of a sudden like went to the newspaper and was like, oh, we need trails, but never it never really happened. Like never there was never something happening. And now I started with it again and brought it all up to the public, and this time with Bike Park Thunersee that is nearby, and with Sharon Hunziker doing such a like phenomenal job in this area, we have a really good opportunity now to make it actually work now. And we're getting there. Like we're in contact with all the different Gemeinde, and we're in contact. We're talking about like getting our first legal trail in Interlaken, but it's all still in the works. So I shouldn't really tell too much about it because it's all still planning and nothing official.
Oh, yeah.
But we're talking definitely.
Future business.
Is there a grand idea? Like, what are like the main wishes of all this?
We have to do a bracket here. We did have Adi Greinel from Bikeplan as a guest, and obviously he is the man behind the master plan for the whole area of the Thunersee, is my understanding. And so yeah, in as part of that master plan, I think some things should be happening eventually.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think Interlaken signed up to that.
Yeah, so Interlaken is a part of the whole master plan, and they started with the master plan 5 years ago. The goal was to just make this whole concept about making the Jungfrau region, so Interlaken and the valleys of Lauterbrunnen and Grindelwald, making it become a mountain bike area. Like, I mean, if we think big, like Portisole or something like that, so people really want to go there and spend their time there, like a week full of mountain biking, like they do with skiing already in the winter. And that was the whole idea, to make a concept about that with the master plan. And now 5 years later, this master plan actually exists already. And now there are different work groups from different communities to make this whole concept work and to realize it. So within the next 10 years, we're working in those different work groups to just realize this whole concept and to make it work and become an actual thing. So between now and 10 years, there will be a lot of change in the whole region for sure. Yeah, we're actually, the goal is to make it a really attractive place for mountain bikers, because there were some studies already that have been made for the whole master plan thing, and they said that mountain biking is just, I mean, we all know it's growing and growing, and it's becoming such a huge sport in Switzerland and all around the world pretty much. And winters are getting shorter and shorter, so all the tourist areas actually have to invest in mountain biking. And I think the whole Jungfrau region and Bernese Oberland started to realize that.
Well, that is a perfect segue to our question from Grizzly, our former guest, who is asking a question for you, the next guest. And he really wants to know, what is your dream bike park trail? So now that we have the master plan, You know, you
Yeah.
have a blank canvas to build whichever trail you want. How does that trail look like?
All right. I've been thinking about that question. I saw it in your email, and for me, so I sometimes get some like hate for it from my friends. It's not really hate, but it's just like, yeah, why do you think that way? It's I'm a big fan of flow trails. I have to admit, like a lot of people think they're just boring, but I don't know. I feel like I can be really creative on flowy, like easy, almost trails that you can just. I like just shutting my head off when I ride a trail. So when I don't really want to like think a lot. I don't really want to think a lot about line choices or like, oh, where do I like have to go so I don't get stuck in all those huge rocks that are in my way or something like that. I just want to flow and just play with my bike from top to bottom. And I've never been in Whistler, for example, but what I heard from like A Line or Dirt Merchant, these are like lines where you I feel like can actually just shut your brain off and let the bike do its work and play with it as much as you want and get really, really creative. So I like those wider tracks, those flowy tracks with just some very creative features. And I think if I would go with a trail, with my dream trail, I would probably go with a flow trail that is not super technical or not technical at all, with some huge turns, so you can really lean in that bike, and some proper big jumps, talking like 10+ meter gaps. That'd be sweet.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I mean, it was actually, and that episode is coming out soon. Is Chris was talking a lot about building flow trails and how they make them more interesting to more advanced riders, right? It's with all these options and here a gap and there a little kicker and
Yeah.
here a double or a triple or a quadruple or whatever it is. And it's actually really interesting. And of course, if you've been to Lenzerheide recently, they've built a lot of new stuff and a lot of new options for different kinds or different strength levels of riders. Actually,
Yeah.
pretty nice.
I feel like
Good
it's
input.
really cool to see that there are so many flows. I mean, there should be a lot of flow trails because they want a lot of new people trying it, right? So if you build proper downhill tracks that only pro riders can ride, it doesn't really bring new people to it. So that's also another good point with flow trails or just like easier trails, right? Um, yeah, I just like like shutting my head off a little and just letting my bike flow down the track. So that's why I'm more of the flow trail rider.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, then let's bring it back to thoughts under the helmet. Fellow podcaster, can you tell us what after all the videos and all the other content, what drove you to start your own podcast?
It was actually just me trying to do something new. As I said before, I just want to the way of staying relevant in that whole social media place is just to try out new things. And I really got into listening to podcasts when like a few, I would say like a year ago, probably, just started to listen to more and more podcasts. And I was like, I really like to talk with people. I really like to just have interesting conversations. And I've been having a lot of like really deep talks with my friends and just people I meet up with. And I was like, wow, if like other people could hear this conversation right now, they would maybe think it's interesting, or maybe I'm not the only person that has these thoughts right now. So why not sharing them and just see what other people think about it? And that was the whole point with starting Thoughts Under the Helmet. It's just me wanting to talk with different people, seeing what their opinions are on different things, and just having interesting conversations, like getting to know other people and people that I also don't really know that well at first. So it was just all me wanting to talk with different people and recording it. Actually, I didn't really have a master plan. I didn't really have anything else in the back of my head when I started it. So it was just me liking to talk with other people. Yeah.
And how did you come to the idea of using that name?
I was thinking about a name for a while. I was like, what could I? Because first I was just, I don't know, came up with really boring names like, I don't know,
Skits and
podcast
giggles.
with Louis, or like the Louis Eisenhut podcast or something like that. Really, really boring.
Epic.
Yeah, and then I was thinking about like what is the reason why I want to talk with people, and it's about because of my thoughts and the opinions I have on certain things, and yeah, thoughts under the helmet came along when I thought about that. Yeah.
So I should say the podcast is primarily in Swiss German.
Hmm.
You do have two English podcasts. One is with sounds like it's a friend of your wife,
Yeah.
or yeah, and then the next the second one you did in English, which is a little bit of a bigger deal. Episode 9, Danny McCaskill of Red Bull Rampage. Sorry, of Red Bull Trials and Freestyle fame, YouTube fame. You guys, you guys went in pretty deep, actually. I didn't expect to hear any of that out of Danny. Not like it's a big deal or anything, but yeah, he's quite candid. It's quite nice and refreshing to hear a conversation of like just two normal guys having a conversation about the bike industry, actually.
Mm.
But I just so I got a little bit out of that conversation, and I wanted to ask specifically on the podcast, what about the topics or the topic of bike industry that you talked about with him that you took away and were then like kind of had in the back of your mind afterwards, like, huh, that really kind of changed my perception, and like, you know, maybe did you do something with that information or that energy? How
Yeah.
was that for you?
So one thing that comes up in my mind when I think about the Danny podcast is we were talking about social media as well, and he was actually like, he thinks that it's kind of sad that he's a part or a reason why so many people spend so many hours on their phone just looking at his content instead of just writing themselves, you know. And I really thought about that because I was like, I really like to entertain people, and as I said, just putting out my content. But I'm also a part why, or a reason why so many people probably spend a few more minutes on their phone instead of just going out and enjoying their own life, you know. And I didn't really expect to hear that from Danny, actually, because I was like, well, he made a whole living out of that, and he got famous through that. So why would he think it's a bad thing to put out content? So that was one thing that made me think a little. And then that other conversation about he thinking, just he being super safe with his writing, and like making sure that everything that he does is just very, I know he doesn't really take a lot of risks. What I heard from his the podcast with him now, like he's really like calculating everything and making sure that he doesn't put, um, yeah, just his life in danger when he does all of those crazy stunts, which you wouldn't believe when you look at the crazy things he's doing actually. But talking with him, I really saw that he's actually putting a lot of thoughts into what he does, and that was two things that made me think a lot. And then third thing was maybe when you listen to the podcast, you still know that we talked a while about him thinking that like landing things on resi or airbag, or no wait, it's mulch, it doesn't count. And he got really like,
Dude, I had to look up Resi. I had no clue. Pascal, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm out of here. Oh man.
yeah,
You're
that,
too old.
that was fun. Yeah.
I can understand. Yeah, definitely. After I looked up Resi, I figured out. Okay, I understand it. It's like, and for those people who are listening that don't know, it's basically a, what is it made of? It's like not a silicone.
Resin.
Yeah, it's a resin mat, basically.
Basically a rubber mat.
Yeah, and it's helping you absorb like the impact and helping you stick the landing, and you can kind of get away with things that you probably wouldn't if you were on like dirt or concrete, just because of just the way the chemical makeup of the resin is allowing you to stick a landing, let's say.
Well, with your podcast, you're obviously occupying a similar interesting niche of a niche of a niche that we are also living in, right? So we're an almost exclusively English speaking podcast in Switzerland, but talking about mountain biking, and all of these things become smaller and smaller and smaller niches. Um, how do you think about creating content in Switzerland, right? So, of course, yes, there is this demand for local content, so Swiss, German, French, or whatever it is. But also, if you think about reach and you want to reach as many people as you can, you want to do it in English because, you want to, per the language, you have far more people that can potentially listen to your podcast. So how do you handle those two things? Do you just want to have cool conversations, or?
Yeah, so with my podcast, it really depends on just the guests I have. If I have Swiss German guests, I want to talk Swiss German with them, because then, I mean, I would say there are three languages I can speak good enough to make a podcast about with, and it's English, German, and Swiss German. And if you want to split German and Swiss German, I would so.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I feel like if a person can talk in their native language, or in hers or his native language, it makes it way just realer, I guess. It's just people can actually just explain themselves a little better, and yeah, it makes everything a little easier, and just a little more entertaining at the end, I guess, as well. So I just try to talk with all my guests the language they prefer to speak and the language they are most comfortable to speak. And with all my other content, I mean, on Instagram, I really switched up with talking, or like writing in, like doing my captions on Instagram in German and English. So sometimes I made posts in English, and then sometimes I made them in German, very rarely in Swiss German. Um, but I always like sometimes I would ask my community what they would want from me, and they would always be like, surprisingly, they would always say I should stay with German and Swiss German, because it's just not as it's just more real for them when they know a content creator puts out content in his own language, and I don't know, just yeah, it doesn't change up the way he talks or the language or anything. Just puts out who he is and what he talks. And that made sense for me for quite a while. And I feel like I now switched up to English more and more, just because of my wife. She's from America, and I mean, I want her to understand what I do on social media all the time, because she's not really doesn't speak Swiss German yet, or German. So yeah, I changed up um, the way I write my captions, and I think I only do captions on Instagram in English right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, just also for her to understand it, actually. Yeah.
Lucky lady.
Oh, there you go.
You had recently on the podcast Thoughts Under the Helmet YouTube guest. She's also a Swiss mountain biker, and from what I understand, she's kind of doing like, I don't know her at all, but I've seen her profile. It's like
Mhm.
Big E.
Biggie, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually been following her for quite a while, maybe since arrived in Switzerland. I'm not exactly sure, but I remember because she was always doing like these switchbacks, and she has like a kind of a signature like rear wheel hop, and she has it in all her videos and things. And I was like, oh wow, okay, that's new for me, because where I come from, no one does this. I mean, they don't need to do that because the trails aren't that tight. But it caught my eye, so I started following, and like it's also a good way to like see like where trails are, and like kind of get myself into the culture. So I was really appreciative of that. But something that came to mind before, in the days leading up to this recording, you're a bona fide influencer, social media personality, content creator, whatever you want to call it, but I don't see a lot from women. And I wanted to get your take on kind of like maybe you have an idea or you've been told why that is, or I don't see enough like bigger names of women social influencing. Is that the right term?
Creators. Let's just call
Yeah,
them
yeah.
creators.
Like I just don't see it enough. Like why doesn't the algorithm give me more of that? Like they're just in general there isn't enough compared to men, and also in mountain biking. So we can
I
stay in the
think,
mountain biking
yeah,
topic if we yeah.
in mountain biking for
Or would
sure.
you argue that I'm wrong?
I think actually, so when you put it in only, if you only say it about mountain biking, it's actually true. I mean, there are also not as many mountain biking girls out there as there is boys doing it, right? So I guess that would make sense why there wouldn't be as many like influencers in the mountain bike scene. But I don't know. I feel like maybe a reason why there are not as many content like female content creators is just maybe they get a little more judged by just people in general because I don't know, there are bigger expectations or other expectations for women online, and they
It
like,
is
I
more
don't know,
complex. That's definitely
yeah,
true. Yeah.
like as a dude you just put out whatever you want, and I feel like people don't really care as much. Maybe
Mm.
there's like, and as soon as like a girl puts out something, and then maybe she also like looks a certain way, or like, I don't know, there's just way much more to, it's way more complicated, and women
Mm.
get maybe a little bit more judged online.
If we black and white look at it, the majority of mountain bikers are men. So
Yeah.
the majority of mountain bike content consumers are men. So I think I don't want to try to disappoint or offend anybody here, but it could be that the landscape doesn't cater to women content creators as well as male ones. It's just a little bit of a shame because I mean,
When I talk with Biggie on the podcast about female, like women in mountain biking, and how she feels about it, and if she feels confident, if she feels comfortable in the whole mountain bike scene as a girl, she was like, yeah, I feel welcome, but back in like a few years ago, people just looked at us girls in mountain biking just being like, I mean, you can't really ride as good as a man. Like, there's no way you could even ride better than a man. Like, just a lot of people thinking that way, and I don't know. Maybe it just scared. It scares a lot of women maybe to put out that content because they feel, or they don't want to get judged, or like want to like get put down by other people from the community. I don't know. It's that Biggie also told me that this whole thing is like started to change, and she now really feels comfortable and welcomed in the whole mountain bike scene. So there's definitely it's getting better for sure. And yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question for sure. I don't know. I would say, but do you think like, are there other like content creators that are not specifically for mountain biking who are women, or do you think like in general there's not as many girls doing it?
I think we're with the wrong demographic to judge that. Let's put that up
I
front.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
But from what we get fed by the algorithm,
true.
I think I can say, we fit the bill, right? So in my case, mid 40s, or Bryson late 30s, dude, married, family man. So obviously you get fed, you know, very many female content creators in many different shades of clothing, and or lack thereof, as it may be. And but yeah, so I mean, in terms of mountain biking, it's kind of hard to see, right? Because, and that's obviously the perspective of having thought about this quite a bit in terms of yes, we do have kids and we have the conversation about social media, but kind of how these algorithms work and what they show you, right? That's obviously very different for every single person, depending on what you follow, depending on what you like, depending on what you click, right? Your feed, as the name implies, is made for you, and it's, tailored to you by a company that spends billions and billions of dollars to keep you on your feed. So of course they're only going to show you stuff that you're more likely to like and keep scrolling, right? So then it's kind of hard to say if what we see is really what the reality is. I know that's very Inception, but um, but yeah, so it's kind of hard to see, right? Because in other disciplines of cycling, right? So if you take road cycling and there, it's very. I'm not saying it's equally distributed, but there is a decent share of female content creators, and that also is visible and has platforms and have visibility and all that. So
Yeah, I feel like it definitely depends on the content consumer and what the algorithm does with it. I mean, there are for sure a lot of other people that get a lot of female content creators on their feed.
Bryson, is there anything else, or should we start wrapping it up?
Before we cap off, I have two funny questions. One is, who is the enraged boss? Oh, sorry. There was a sequel to your Late for Work featuring your father, right? So you hooked up to his paragliding rig and he shuttled you down the hill. Epic shot. So really well epic. Worth the viral vid. Check it out on the Louis Eisenhut YouTube channel if you haven't seen it. Late for Work Volume 2. But who is the enraged boss at the end? The guy deserves an Emmy.
Yeah, he was so good. Actually, we didn't know who we wanted to have for that because we knew we would need someone to be the boss in that scene. But until we entered the office where we filmed the whole scene, we didn't really know who was going to do it. And the whole office scene was shot in my actual office where I worked. I worked as a dispatcher for the local railway company in Interlaken. And the office we have, there's always someone there, like 24/7. So we had to make sure that we would go there when it was like quiet enough and like empty enough. So I hit up one of my colleagues from work, being like, "Oh, I see you have night shift that day. Can we just stop by in the middle of the night and film that scene?" So at like 11 p.m., let's make it midnight maybe, we stopped by and we're setting everything up, and we were like, maybe my coworker who was on the night shift that night could do it, but he didn't really want to because he had to do a little bit of acting, right? And then it was actually my friend Andoni, shout out Andoni Lopez. He's actually a photographer, like a really, really, really good photographer. He's doing it for many, many years now, and we've actually done a lot of different photo shoots together. And he stepped in. He was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." Like, and then he was that boss. So shout out Andoni. He definitely deserves like a prize for that. That was a good one. And
that was
I think I never laughed so hard when we were like shooting one of those scenes, or like a scene like that. That was insane. Yeah, really, really fun night. Like, you have to imagine we were in that office shooting that scene for maybe 1 or 2 hours. So by the end, when we were filming that scene with him coming into the office and just raging, it was like 2 a.m. and we were already like filming the whole day. So we already had like a 10-12 hour film day behind us. And we were just all so tired, and everything we did was just super funny. Like, it wasn't even, and then he was acting that well. And it was just great. a very good time.
Love it.
Yeah.
We have 3 famous questions that we haven't asked in a very long time.
Okay, let's go.
Shall we do them?
Of course.
I'm ready.
All right. 3 famous closeout questions. So number 1 is, tell us about the first bike that got you really stoked about riding.
The first bike that got me stoked about riding was my actual first fully I had. So remember when I told you that I was in volleys with my dad? I had like a hardtail bike, just a very shitty one. And then he got me, I think a few weeks later, he got me that Kona Stinky 24-inch wheels.
Stinky JR.
I mean,
Stinky vibes are strong.
Holy moly, that was a good one.
Fun fact, you're not supposed to call it Stinky Junior. You're supposed to call it Stinky JR.
Really?
That's what it said in the catalog.
It's a JR, not Junior. What does it stand for if it's not
Junior?
But you're
I
not
think they just throw that in the catalog to have fun. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Kona Stinky, that was awesome. I did my first proper jumps, like cleared my first table jumps with that bike, and I rode it for actually way too long. Like I think I rode it for 4 years, and by the end of that time, I was just way too tall for the bike. Like I was I was breaking every single ride because I got too heavy to ride it actually. But I just wouldn't let it like.
Just too stoked to stop.
I just wanted, yeah, it was
That's
just
a great
too stoked
bike
to ride it,
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. Second question. Imagine yourself as a bike magician. And you have a magic dropper post, and with that dropper post, you can make mountain biking more awesome for anyone. What would you do?
Okay, so that feeling you get when you like hit something for the very first time, and just the stokedness you feel, or like when you like overcome your fear, and like, or you just had like a fantastic bike day, like you're just super super stoked. And I wish I would like make it with that magic dropper post that everyone could have that amazing feeling after every single ride. Maybe that would, so you're ultimate stoked after every single ride.
It's like the feeling you get when you didn't realize what you're riding, and then all of a sudden you like stick the landing, and you're like, "Whoa, that was sick."
Yeah, that's it. Or like landing a trick you've been trying for so many times. Like it just
okay.
That's
a great feeling.
All over. Yeah, all over. Like stokedness for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I commend that answer. Question number 3 will be, in your heart of hearts, please tell us about the perfect skid.
Okay. So you know those like Brandon Semenuk skids he does? Like where he like pops up his back wheel and then skids on his actually like real wheel over like a bump or something. Like just along like on the side of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the perfect skid. Like you do it on your back wheel, like sideways, just on the edge of like a bump or something.
Nice.
Yeah,
we can get on board with that.
Yeah, a Brandon Semenuk skid is a perfect skid.
There you go. All right, and with that, we close it out. We say thank you.
This
was
guys.
really interesting and really, really entertaining. Of course, we have to say, where can people find you if they don't know about Louis Eisenhut?
Yeah, guys, just I'm on YouTube, Louis Eisenhut on YouTube. Thoughts on the helmet. Check out my podcast. And Louis_Eisenhut on Instagram. That's it.
Well, we'll put all of those things into the description of this episode so people can find it. And thanks again. And we hope to see you out on the trails soon.
Yeah, gonna be awesome. See you on the trails. Will be fun.
Ciao, Louis.
Thanks for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. Why don't you let us know what you think? We really like to hear from our listeners. To find out how to get in touch with us, follow the links to our website in the description or find us on Instagram under @skitsandgiggles. Until next time, Skigglers.